Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tom Stewart here. I'm with Liz Trotter and Matt Ricketts. This is Smart Business Moves. This is the last week of the month, right? We're like almost to the halfway point for the year.
Yep, we are days away from the last 2 more days in the month.
This is the 27th week of the year, people. It is the halfway mark.
26.
Yeah.
Isn't this the 27th week of the year?
Crazy.
Really?
So,
I have it marked as the 26th week of the year.
I don't know. I'll double check, but how many? Well, we can ask Siri in a minute, but I'm pretty sure this is the 27th week because it only makes sense because the 27th week starts the third quarter, and the third quarter starts on Friday, right? Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, but next week is the first day of the third quarter. This is the last week of this half, which would be 26 weeks.
okay. Well, you guys go ahead and talk while we're going to
Hey,
talk.
Linda. Hey, Denise. Hey, Linda. Missed you today. It's been a long time since you haven't been in Monday Check-In. We wore you out, huh? You finally got home. She was in Vegas with us last week, and she had some trouble getting out of Vegas. So
tell us about that. How did you guys do in Vegas last week?
And we had a great time. Yeah, we had a great time. It was a lot of work. Everybody was exhausted. At least, I think Denise was one of the people that was like, I'm really nervous. If this was only 3 days and you said foundations is more intense, how am I going to handle it? It was pretty intense. I worked them very, very hard. And you know how hard I can stick to a schedule, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
I only scheduled 2 breaks a day.
Oof.
So
I'm already out.
Yeah, no bathroom, no diapers.
yeah, it was a busy week, but we had a lot of fun too. It was a great time. Everybody had a lot of good takeaways. And I think, so one of the things I know that people always struggle with is how to set the big goals, how to chunk them down into smaller goals, how to turn those goals into action steps, and how to actually grind out the work toward the real goal so that you actually meet the goal. A lot of times people are like, I can set the goal or I can stay busy doing stuff, but I don't know how to set the goal and then do the things that will actually get me to that goal. You know, there's like this weird.
So I'm very project oriented in the way I think. You break it into like we're gonna do 3 projects this month, or like because you can only get so much done. Otherwise, your efforts are diluted. So how do you teach people how to do that?
So we use 2 strategies. We combine them. So one is the strategy from traction, and then the other is the strategy from the 4 disciplines of execution. So I find that people either struggle in one area or the other, either in setting the goals and knowing what they need to do, or in implementing those goals. So we teach both together. Here's how you set them. Okay, let's set them. And then we set them for the year, and then we break that down for the quarters, and then we break the quarters down for the month. And then the activities are, what are the activities that you're doing weekly to get you to that monthly goal? So we measure it every week toward your monthly goal, toward your quarterly goal, toward your annual goal.
Awesome. Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's hard when people first start because, you know, people aren't used to thinking in terms of, like you said, projects, or what they call in our version WIGs, wildly important goals. They're not used to thinking. They're used to either thinking that way, or I've got to do this, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do this.
The goals get in the way of the stuff that you think that you need to do.
Yes. Yeah, the whirlwind. We call it the whirlwind, the stuff that you have to do every day. They're like, I can't. I have to, you know, my so-and-so's car broke down and my vacuum cleaner needed new filters, and I had 2 customers cancel, and I had an employee call out in the morning. I couldn't do anything else. Sorry, you have to. If you don't, then you won't.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
So our big thing that we that we focused on, 2 big points that we focused on over the course of those 3 days. They're really, if you can get it, they're so impactful. The first one is that we really, really underestimate how much we can get done in the short term. We really underestimate how much we can get done like in 3 months or 6 months or a year. And we really overestimate how much we can get done in the long term. We're like, on 5 years, I'm going to be a $10 million company. But in the next week, gosh, I hope I can get 1 price increase letter out. Yeah. So that idea of you got to shift that, get more done in the short term, and the big stuff will take care of itself. You know, minding your pennies and your dollars, that idea. So we worked a lot on that idea. And then we spent a lot of time on the idea that, you know, you can only grow your company to the size of the problems you can handle. So if you can only manage little tiny problems, you can't manage a company that's bigger than a little tiny company. That's as big as you can get. But if you can handle bigger problems, bigger companies. So when those problems come, you need to like embrace them. Yay, here's my opportunity to prove I can grow to a bigger company. So we had a lot of people have big shifts in mindset around that.
That goes with something that a lot of people teach, though, is that you're the lid. You are the lid of your business. So.
Law of the lid. That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great philosophy to understand. And then it's also a great philosophy to understand is that you can actually grow and expand beyond where you are currently. But until you do, you can't reach the next level. So big goals don't matter unless you make big shifts. That's kind of what you guys were teaching, is that you're helping them expand their thinking, and then, you know, reach for bigger short-term goals as well, and then be more tempered with where they can get long-term based on the skills that they have. And then they need to improve those skills. If you want to be a $10 million company, you might have a few more skills you need to level up on in the next 5 years. So that's kind of all interplaying nicely.
That was a concept that I wrestled with for a long time. I had a really good business coach that, you know, he kept telling me that, you know, I'm the problem. And so, but you don't understand. And that was when I learned the concept of you don't understand. As soon as you say you don't understand, basically you're talking about, you don't realize it, but you're really talking about yourself. But, you know, it's your situation, our situation, your situation's not unique. It's like everybody else's situation. And, you know, once you understand that you are the problem, then you can be the solution and you can make the changes and all the reasons why you're saying you can't. You just don't understand it doesn't work that way in my business, and I can't, and this and they, and, you know, it's their it's like, no, you're the problem.
And so how we teach that is we call those the yeah buts. It's like, yeah, I know everybody does that. Yeah, but in my company, we do things differently. Yeah, but I can't because of this. Yeah, but. And so if you hear yourself arguing with people or yeah, butting yourself or anybody else, you have to evaluate that. So we spent one day, we started each day with 3 questions that you're going to look for the answers to throughout the day. And one of the questions was, when you're hearing presentations and when we're going through all of this material, where do you find yourself arguing? Where do you find yourself saying, yeah, but that won't work in my company. Yeah, but, and then challenge yourself. Is that true? Are you really doing things so amazingly well and better that it doesn't apply to you? Or will it not work because you're not doing things in the most optimum way? And you just want to keep doing it that way. So
that's awesome. Well,
we're gonna talk about that today. I mean, really, that's a good segue into the topic. I mean, we're still in June, so we're still talking about marketing and sales. And what we wanted to talk about is, you know, where does the marketing and sales activity come from, and who's responsible for doing that, and what are the impediments of of execution. And oftentimes, we get ourselves in situations where we're spending our time, and we're basically spending the time our support staff, our office staff, the people who are responsible for doing the important things in our business. I call them our leverage people, doing things where they're staying busy, but maybe aren't necessarily creating maximum value. And we talk a lot about productivity and efficiency and payroll to revenue and cost of goods sold, and we pound on that in terms of getting as much value as you can out of your cleaning professionals. But if you think about it, the people working in your office, they're 10x. They're getting them to create more value has 10x more impact on your business. So another way, there's a big difference between motion and movement, and we want to talk about getting your people moving in the most useful way possible, rather than being engaged in a whole lot of activities that don't result in a lot of movement.
Yeah.
So I think a way to think about this is we need to get our people out of the whirlwind and have them have processes and have them have automations or different systems. I don't want to overuse words that are thrown around a lot, but we need to basically get them out of the whirlwind. We're always in our own whirlwind, but then what happens is when we basically hand off our problems to somebody else, we didn't document what our job was. We didn't create systems. We just basically threw them into a whirlwind and then expect them to do everything. So I think a lot of the sales process for most companies, we talk about it a lot. It's not a sales or marketing problem. You have a follow-up and systems problem. That's the real thing. I know a company that has probably, every week, maybe 100 leads they don't even follow up on. They don't do anything with them because they just don't have a system. They come in and they're just so busy. They don't have a system to say, hey, we're too busy to help you right now, but we'll put you on a wait list or anything. They just ignore the fact that they have all these leads come in. I've seen it. I've seen their inbox. It's real. I thought it was an exaggeration, but it is a huge just pit of information.
So when they need more customers, is the answer increase our marketing budget?
I've heard this. I've heard this owner tell me we need to market more. I need to get more customers, and I think that okay. This particular owner still believes that.
But I have to just inject one thing. That is not one business owner, Matt. I mean, it's easy to think that is just one business. It is not. I talk to multiple business owners in the MMA groups and also in the one-on-one coaching. I cannot tell you how many times I have to talk somebody out of the idea that they need to put more money into marketing.
Sure.
So what we're teaching currently is that if you are not, so the number that we're hanging on that is 40%. So if you are not getting 40% on your ROI, if you're not getting a return on that investment of 40%, then you need to be doing better with the leads that you have. And if you do better with the leads that you have, then you don't need more leads. Just sell to the leads you already have. But I was literally talking to a company week before last. Their ROI was 11%, and they wanted to put another $1,000 into their Yelp budget. Listen, why are you paying for somebody else's advertising? Because if you are only closing on 11%, that means 89% of the jobs that are coming to you, that you're paying for, you're giving to somebody else. So you're paying. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
So when you say ROI on their marketing,
the money that they're already paying or that they're already spending.
But you might be talking about a close ratio or something along those lines. Is that more along what percentage of leads turn into new business?
It could be that, or sometimes it's the time that they're spending too. So either way, Here's my thinking. You need to be making money off the leads that are coming to you currently, or you're paying for someone else's leads because you're getting to someone else.
One thing I think happens to most people is they have no follow-up process, either automated or whatnot. So they might get a lead and call them one time.
Oh yeah.
And then they're done. So I just wanted to show a couple things within Maid Central, and your software that you already use probably has some of this stuff. Turn it on. This is an example of automation. So this is all stuff that's kind of built into the Maid Central, but you can build even more robust stuff. But like, let's say a lead comes in and you haven't contacted them. There's multiple levels of automation and follow-up you can build within Maid Central, long-term nurture. But every time that a new lead comes in, I mean, a lead comes in on our website. Hey, it's great to meet you. That's the first thing we send them. It's like, we greet them and like we introduce them to how we work a little bit differently. I mean, the first time you have somebody come to your website, you should introduce yourself and what makes you a little different. So we actually even put a quick little video of Angela in there. Even though Angela's not doing the day-to-day, she still trains my managers on quality. They come to our house. She doesn't go to the office anymore, but she's still involved with what the expectations and level of service are. So it's not that she's day-to-day anymore, but she still has a role. And then we allow them to go ahead and book their services now. But that's where most people they get a lead and they might try and call this person one time, right?
Yeah. Or maybe twice if they're doing it twice.
Maybe, and they probably have it printed on a piece of paper, and then it's just like a big stack of these things like piling up or whatnot. So that's one thing. If you can't automate it, you need to at least create a process that says, like on that sheet of paper, contacted once, contacted twice, contacted 3 times. Like your piece of paper needs to have like a workflow that you've devised. So for me, we have within Maid Central, there's 4 levels of automations. There's leads that we got a phone call on, and then leads that came from our website. And then there's leads that we quoted over the phone and leads that we quoted over, quotes that we quoted over the internet, some of that we gave a price to that they got it off our website, and then people that we quoted over the phone. So we'll have a slightly different follow-up process for every one of those people. But I wanted to show you how many touch points that we really feel like are important. It's like 15 touch points before we kind of move them into the long-term nurture cycle. So I would suggest really thinking of moving it from like 2 or 1 to 10, like whether that's email, text, like over some period of time. Tom, what do you think? Like how many touch points do you think would be, before you gave up on a lead? Because you spent the money to get the lead. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, over a 3-month period, you should be reaching out at least 10 times. I mean, you've got nothing to lose, right? Because these aren't cold calls. Basically, you're responding to somebody who initiated a relationship with you.
Yeah. So just to think here, they've already got an email from us, from the system. So then we're going to try and text them. Then we're going to wait a day and try and call them. The system will automatically email them in 3 days. So if you haven't gotten a hold of them, maybe you have just an email that you send and you mark that off on that sheet of paper that you have sitting on your desk. But at the very least, if you don't have some automation, have a series of mailboxes where you move these leads through some process. Because if you're small and only have 10 leads a week, a paper system is manageable. But if you think about that, if you're going to contact them 10 times, that's 100 contacts that you have to do. Even a paper system with 10 leads a week can start to be overwhelming because you need to do all these touch points. And this is just, I think this is the minimum. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the first one that automatically came, which is 10. So I have 10 touch points within the first 2 weeks before we really kind of put them into the cold lead nurture follow-up system that we have. And we still reach out to them even a little bit longer after this. But this is the first 2 weeks, 10 touch points. Does that seem excessive? Or is that, what are your guys' thoughts? Is that too much?
Here's my thoughts. How many people say, stop contacting me in that 2-week period?
Not a lot. A few.
That's not too many.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the important part I think to remember is they started it. They reached out to you asking for your help. So all you're doing is doing what they ask you to do. Yeah. And if they don't want you to reach out anymore, they can tell you, as Liz just suggested.
Yeah, and so even things that don't even seem like that are like, we talk about like the technology we use to clean on after a few days, like why that's important and how that delivers a better service. So we even try different messages and see what resonates. Surprisingly, this one where we talk about like this hypochlorous disinfection process and how it's safe, and then we talk about like the technology that makes their service better. This email gets a lot of replies. I thought it was going to be a dud, but this email that talks about like our iPhone app and about how our teams check in and that they have a customer portal and a customer survey, this resonates with people. And a lot of people are like, oh, I mean, a lot of our users are younger now. A lot of our customers are younger now, younger than me. Like when I started, all my customers were older than me. I was probably 27 when I started my business, and all my customers were older. Now, I have customers that are quite a bit younger than me. So, I've been doing this long enough that it's shifted a bit. So anyway, this technology one really resonates with people.
I like that one. I would love to see that too, Matt. I see why it would resonate. That's great.
Yeah. So, campaigns, is one thing. And then even if you don't have some automation built out, you should have a way to go after maybe old customers that are no longer with you anymore. You should be able to search your CRM and find customers that maybe haven't had a job with you in a certain period of time with, 0 pending jobs. And you could search for customers that were just house cleaning and that maybe had recurring frequency, but no longer are with you. And then create a list and market to them. Your current CRM should have the ability to find customers that you are no longer servicing, right? And you should be emailing those customers, trying to win them back. That's at the very minimum. You've already got this huge list. Even the best company is going to churn over 30 to 40% of their customers every single year. If they maintain a churn rate of 3% a month, right, which is considered pretty good in the industry, 3%. If you have 100 customers and you lose 3 a month, that means that you're going to lose 36 customers a year, and you've got to replace those 36 customers. Well, some number of those are going to want to come back. You should be marketing to those customers and creating lists and creating offers that are specific to those customers. And your CRM that you're currently using should be able to give you that data. I think that's a bare minimum that you should be doing. You should also be looking at every customer that booked, and your CRM should be able to tell you this, is customers that have had jobs but that only booked a first-time job with you, but didn't book recurring service. That's a huge opportunity. I'm not even selling one-time work right now, but we need to probably start reselling one-time work. Because we're starting to be not as labor constrained. That's a whole other thing. Missouri's unemployment ended a couple weeks ago, and it's like the floodgates of employees are here. Now I've got to start selling again, but we got to get them all trained, right? But you should be mining your CRM for the leads you already have, the quotes you already have, the customers that you used to have, and the customers that have tried you but didn't buy from you permanently, right? That are not on your they tried, but I consider a buyer in our business somebody that is a recurring buyer, someone that's, on your recurring list and keeps doing business with you. So you can craft messages to those users specific to the fact that they've done business with you, but don't any longer. So,
hey Matt, over here, you'll see that Denise posted a comment.
Sure.
And I wonder if I know I'd like to speak to it. This is a kind of a hotly debated topic. People talk about whether or not they should do one-times and how to manage them. What do you think about just not responding to them?
Got to respond. You got to respond to a lead. And honestly, if you have the availability, one-times are an opportunity to turn into recurring work. I just charge significantly more. So my minimum for recurring work is $55 an hour. My minimum for one-time work to even go there is $75 an hour. So, and that's to make up for some of the risk that a one-time work is that they don't really know the expectations, or that it's, that's going to be even, out of line with what they think and what you can deliver. Another thing that I do is if they're asking for something with less than 48 hours notice, we go up to $100 an hour. And that really tries to weed out those really short term. I think those are the ones that have the most risk, is when they're like, I need this tomorrow. They weren't really planning very well. And all of a sudden, like, they need a cleaning, tomorrow. And if I have the availability, I'm open to it, but we have to make enough money to justify the risk that's associated with those one-time jobs.
Yeah, in getting their credit card in advance, and situationally even charging them for the cleaning or for part of the cleaning at the time that they book it, just make sure they're firmly committed to it.
And you do have to realize that, this is a very common strategy to just increase that price so that it is so expensive that it makes it worth your while to clean for those people and to make whatever has to happen.
Yeah, and my numbers are my numbers. Whatever works for you, if you know your profit margins and what you need to make. My numbers are based on my employees making $20 an hour on average, with my best people making $25 to $29 on average. I mean, I'm kind of probably the exception, not the rule, the way that I pay. But maybe we all need to be thinking like that. I'm not sure that anyway, my point is that you just base it on your own decisions. But my suggestion is, for one-time work, you should be charging 25% more, and maybe as much as 100% more for short-term. Like, I need this today. If your normal booking rate is $50 an hour, you might want to consider $100 an hour. I mean, you might want to be at double the price. Just a thought.
There's a school of thought out there that you don't want to be the one saying no. You want to put a price tag on it that would compensate you, make it worth your while to do it, and let them say no.
Right.
But if they're willing to pay the price, then do it and put money in your pocket.
Just keep one thing in mind if you're going to go with that strategy. I'm not against it, but I do want to remind everybody who's hearing this that if people are paying $100 an hour, regardless of why, they have higher expectations. They think they're spending $100 an hour, they're expecting a perfect job. So you got to be really, really on point with those expectations if you're charging that kind of money. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying you got to be clear. You got to be on point, or that's where you're going to get that situation where you're like, they wanted the job in 24 hours and then they complain about one hair. Yeah, they're complaining about one hair because you charge them $100 an hour.
And there's some techniques you can use, though. It's almost like the Uber surge pricing, and we've done this before. It's like, we really are booked up, but it sounds like if you're in a pinch, we can do this, but we would have to move another customer to do it. And if I move that customer, I'm going to have to compensate them for that. So I'm going to have to, if you're willing to pay the premium that I would then have to use to make it right with the customer that I'm moving, I can do that. So they're thinking it's not really super premium cleaning. It's, okay, well, I understand why I'm paying more, because basically they're paying off somebody else so I can have their spot.
And that's how we address it, is like, look, I'm going to have to bump a customer and give them a big discount on a future visit if I can get you in. So I need you to understand where this availability is coming from, is that it's actually going to cost me out of my pocket. So that's how we address it, Liz, is that you're paying a premium because our schedule is full, but we have some customers that are willing to be flexible because we'll give them a discount if we move them. So that is a good point. You do need to address the why of how it's even possible and where the availability is coming from and why it costs more. And for us, it costs more because we're probably having to move somebody and inconvenience them, and we have to, give them something, for it. So, right now we're not doing it. One other thing to think about as far as marketing is marketing to your existing customers. If you have like employee portal, customer portal, or some other feature that makes their service better, and you can upsell them on their job. So this is a cool thing about Maid Central, and a lot of the softwares have a customer portal too. So this is not just a Maid Central thing.
Yeah.
But when you book a job with Maid Central, you can send them an invite to a customer portal, and then before their next job, if they've sign up, they can see add-ons that you could add on to their cleaning, and it allows them to kind of self-sell. So we invite every customer to the customer portal. We have about an 85% adoption rate of our customers that actually have signed up for the customer portal. And so it allows them to do, manage their account. But what I really like is allows us to, in the reminders, say, hey, go to your customer portal if you'd like to add on anything to your cleaning. You can see what the available add-ons are, and if we have any specials this week on add-ons. So that's a great way to increase revenue with your existing customers by marketing to them any services you have. So let's say you don't have a customer portal. When you sign up, send out reminders, just let them know what the available add-ons are, and you'll just have to manually add them onto your service that you're going to provide them. But think of it this way: if you can increase your sales 5 to 10% for your current customers, how much is that worth? How many extra customers would you need to add to increase sales 5%? So for me, I'd have to add 20 or 30 more customers just to do that. For when we were at 700 customers prior to COVID, right? That'd be like 35, 40 customers. That's a lot of sales, but you can increase that revenue per customer through upselling to them. And customer portal is one way we do it, but just letting them know what you have available is a whole other way. So Tom, do you guys do anything like that with your customer portal, letting them know what's available, or is that an opportunity maybe still?
No, we do that. We use it that way as well, and that works well for us. You can get extra jobs in that way.
Well, I'm super excited because we have been sending a job form with the reminder where they have to go to the job form and sign up that way. So this is awesome for me. I just do it right through the customer portal.
Liz, you need to come to the Jumpstart tomorrow on campaigns, because I will teach someone in your office how to do this automatically, okay?
All right,
we're doing a training for Maid Central users tomorrow on campaigns, which I'll be teaching. But so if you're a Maid Central user and you're on this call, make sure that you register for that and come tomorrow. It's going to be.
Put the info in, Tom.
For Maid Central. It's actually we can't put that out publicly. It's in the the Hangout Hub in the public group, or in the private groups, because we don't want non-Maid Central users on that, because it's geared towards that. But for your office, have Mindy or have somebody from your office join me, and I'll make sure that they're up to speed on this.
Yeah, I'm super excited. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great tool that we use to increase our sales. And I think that you'll get a lot of benefit out of that. Like starting next week, you could be up and running with that in a week. So again, kind of key takeaways so far is you don't need more leads. You already probably have a lot of leads that you're not following up on as well as you could. So have a number in mind of number of contacts that you're going to contact somebody. I suggest 10. It's a big number. So 10 times. You're going to contact every lead you get 10 times. But what about quotes that you already quoted? You gave them a price and they didn't do anything. Are you guys think that's pretty important? I think that's a missed opportunity as well.
Yeah.
It's a huge opportunity.
So a lot of people, you get them on the phone and they got a quote, and for whatever reason you didn't get the sale right then. One thing that you should do is email them the quote. So it's not just on record on the phone. You should email them the quote. And the reason I say this is they're going to go back to their inbox and search for that at some point in the future. And you want to be in their inbox. So at the very least, you create a written record of that price, and you'd say when it expires or whatever. You don't, because it's not forever. That price was just for what you gave them today at that point. But I've had people come back to us, and the Maid Central quotes, I'll show you this. This is interesting. The Maid Central quotes allow them to click a button and book their sale right from the quote you sent them in the past. But I've had customers come back like a year later from a quote that they got over the phone, go to their inbox, click on the button, and book their sale, and then say to us, hey, the pricing online is different than what was in my quote. And yeah, the prices have all been adjusted. I'm sorry about that.
That was a year ago.
Yeah, that was last year. So it'll have like a booking button, and it'll be like, so this is what ours looks like. Let me preview the template. But so, it's customized to their first name. This isn't the right one. This is.
So I like that one, Matt. I like all your little icons.
Yeah, all that's customizable. So you can do that with any software, though, I believe. But that's really, it was important to some Maid Central users. So I'm looking for quote, internal quotes. So you quoted them on the phone, and same kind of look, right?
Yep.
But then it has all their pricing information, all these little hashtags is all things that Maid Central or your software would fill out. And then they can just hit book now, and it'll actually recognize that this person filled it out, and it'll go to your website and they can finish booking online. Over half my bookings happen from our online portal. And I don't have data as to how many of them finish that we've already quoted first over the phone, and then they fill this out and book. But it's significant. So, I really believe whatever you do, you need to send them the quote to their inbox, and it needs to be there so they can search for it and find you later, because they're going to forget about you if all you did was rely on that you quoted them on the phone and they should remember. No way. You need to email them the quote. Make it memorable. That way, when their husband or wife gets home later that night and they want to discuss it as a team, because a lot of these decisions are made as a team effort in family now. They're going to look at the company that was the most professional. If you sent them really something professional like this, where it's like, this is the quote we discussed, what your protocols were for COVID, what your guarantee is, products, and we're an earth-friendly company. You can learn more, and then learn more about the way we screen and train. These are all questions that come up. They're basically FAQs, and we're solving those questions on the front end. So I highly recommend having FAQs that, like, real questions that people ask you drive what's on your quote form. So, whatever.
And that's kind of the first step. Now that you've given them a quote, if they don't book like right away, there's a whole series of other things that are going to be happening after that, right?
Yeah, I think you should follow up with them for quite a bit too. So if somebody you got a phone quote to them, you're going to have a slightly different process, but you need to have follow up on them too. So we'll follow up with them the next day. 5 days later, we wait a little bit of time for the next email. Then we wait 2 more days and follow up with them again. And then it's all emails from there on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more emails. So, it's an 8. There's 8 steps here. I might add one more just to create a round number, because the first step is sending them the quote by email. So that was 1. And then I like 10. I don't know. It's just a nice number. So I think I need to add another step here, so that it's 10 steps. But yeah, you gotta have really strong follow up. If you don't, you're just leaving money on the table. Let's say, I don't have the exact numbers, right in front of me what the tail is, but some portion of your leads are going to come back to you 6 months later, a year later, and again, you need a follow-up system. And then after this process is done, you should have a long-term strategy of emailing out something to your entire list on a regular cadence, of trying to re-engage those people and catch them at the right time. The more frequently that you can be consistent on that, the better. I think as much as 2 times per week is probably okay if you're giving useful information, but at minimum 2 times per month.
Well, and it's great just so that they keep seeing your name. Even if they don't open up the email, they see an email came through from Better Life Maids. Even if they're like, I don't have time, delete, they still remember Better Life Made. So when the time comes that it is time to book, they're like, oh, I really got to get somebody to clean my house. Oh, who is that? Oh yeah, Better Life Maids. That's just who pops into their head. I mean, everybody knows that you just want to get your name out there, your branding out there in front of people as many times as you can, so that you're the one that's thought of.
Yeah, more leads is great, but if you're just getting more leads and they're going into an inbox that's like a one and done, conversation with them, you're probably spending more money than you have to get the same results that if you were just to follow up and have a better follow-up process, you would have better results.
And to Denise, to your point here, that when you're booked and you know you don't have room for that one-time clean or that vacant clean or whatever, you just don't. There's no room. You don't have the labor for it. So I'm going to really push on you to at least respond. At least respond with, hey, we're really busy right now, whatever the reason is, and we would love to be able to get back to it, blah, 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 blah time. Keep them in your pipeline as part of your ecosystem. If you don't answer them at all, they're not even a potential customer of yours.
Yeah, and you've actually hurt your brand, because next time they're at a party, they're going to be telling their friends, you know, I called Denise's business because I really needed cleaning, and they never even responded to me.
That's how they do. That's how they remember it too. Like, they're like, I mean, that's not just our industry. That is so common in the trades. When somebody's busy, the way that they express that is that they don't respond. But if they were just to simply text back or email back, or even just spend a moment to call and say, hey, I am so sorry, we are all booked. We even go a step further, and I actually refer 2 or 3 other companies that I network with in the area to try and solve their problem. And customers remember the fact that we were so kind and gracious as to give them the numbers to our competitors that we respect and trust and believe that we'll do a good job for them. Not everyone's going to go that far, but you know what? I have a relationship with Sharon Grammer here locally, and I don't know if she'd be watching, but dude, I know that she does a good job, and I don't feel bad if I don't get that customer and that customer needed service. I would rather give it to her than have them have a bad experience, right? So that's one. And there's, you know, a couple other people locally that I trust and like, and they do the same for me from time to time. Like, I don't expect it, but you know, it's just part of the way that we do business, in that we are trying to be very helpful and solve their problem. Even if we can't make money off of it, I want to solve their problem, and I want them to remember us as the company that helps solve their problem, you know, even if we didn't get the money off of it. So a little different philosophy. Not everyone's going to agree with that, but that's how we do it.
And another piece of that is you remember, Matt, you used to use Net Promoter. So Net Promoter Score talks a lot about, you can have these people that are really all for you and they have all these great things to say. And then you have these people that are just neutral. They don't have anything bad or anything good to say. But then you can also have these people that actively say bad things about your company. And those are the worst people to have. You don't want to have these people that are out there actively saying bad things about your company. And if you don't respond to them, they will. My worst reviews that I have, I think I have either on Yelp or on Google. My worst reviews have all been because they couldn't get a hold of us for some reason. We didn't respond. We didn't get back to them. I know people are like, what? Friday
at 7 o'clock. Yeah, I know. And you're like, yeah, I know. That's the most stressful thing, because you want to set boundaries when you're small, and like not like, you know, jump on those grenades at Friday while your kids are at soccer and things like that. So I don't have a good answer for that, because I'm all about boundaries with work. Like, you know, not always, but with my cleaning company, I have better boundaries than I do with Maid Central. But that's because I have established processes and people to take care of things. And if I jump on a problem at 7 o'clock on a Friday, I'm stepping on somebody's toes in my office. But but man, it is important. I don't have a good answer on that, because if you can, people want to be heard right away.
Well, and there's another dimension to this as well. We were talking earlier about you get caught up in the whirlwind, and you really aren't doing the things that are important because you're dealing with the things that you perceive to be urgent. A lot of that's really self-inflicted. So part of the secret to getting better sales is creating the bandwidth to do it. And creating the bandwidth to do it is using your time in a way, and your staff's time, your office staff's time, in a way that they're creating maximum value. And a lot of times we've got processes that are more complicated than they need to be. And there may be some marginal value in all the complexity that's created, but enough not enough marginal value to justify all the time and treasure that goes into supporting it. I've seen some really, really impressive and complex pay systems with all kinds of bonus programs and things that require tons of hours putting numbers into spreadsheets and building formulas and doing calculations, and the marginal value created from that is questionable. We look at all the time that it takes to do it, or credit card processing, invoicing. I mean, there's a lot of things that a lot of companies spend more time on than they need to.
Let's hit on that payroll for a second, because I agree. Like I can think of examples of companies. And so how this plays into marketing and sales is if your back office staff is tied up in crazy, whirlwind things that you're having them do, they can't do stuff like this. So, right, like that's kind of why we bring that up is you need to streamline your office processes and clean that stuff up. And this is so incredibly underlooked of how much time your back office staff is doing repetitive tasks that perhaps if you had them automated through your software or through just eliminating some things that are just crazy. Like you've decided this thing that you're doing in payroll costs you 10 hours a week for your back office team to do. Is there a return on investment of that time? Liz talked about ROI on marketing spend. I mean, there's an ROI on your people's time, and if you can't justify that time, and it increases that much value on a multiple of 3 or 4. It can't be, okay, this thing costs $250 and it saves us $250. No, your back office people need to generate 3x their revenue to really justify. And I actually think it needs to be way higher. Tom said 10 earlier. Like the activities and the time that they're doing, you could argue that for every dollar of time that they do, it should generate $10, right? And yeah, if you can't justify that, then you need to really rethink some of those processes.
So the point is, if you can find some of these activities, and they're not hard to find, and you can automate, you can simplify, you can eliminate, you create a lot more bandwidth to engage in activities where you're touching your stakeholders, basically, clients, prospective clients, your team members, your workforce, your cleaning professionals. We talk about employee engagement. How much resource do we dedicate to staying in touch with our team members every week? And we probably spend more time on some administrative minutia. You probably have a list of that, as opposed to, investing that time. And part of it's comfortable too. Let's just get real. For a lot of us, it's really comfortable to kind of sink into a spreadsheet or sink into building. I've seen some CRM campaigns like, Active Campaign, Infusionsoft, or I guess Keep now, whatever, that look like plates of spaghetti. I mean, they're works of art. They're so complex. But at what point, if we'd have invested 20% of the effort in that and taken the other 80% and spent it on making phone calls to people, we would probably have more money in the bank.
Agree. Let me give a good kind of example of this. You talked about payroll. People come up with there's a few things, but people talk about I have this way that someone gets paid and this way someone gets paid. Like I get $2 an extra hour for this and this and that. But their software doesn't track it. So at the end of the week, eliminate that stuff. Find ways to find pay for performance. We have on maidcentral.com, there's a pay for performance guide. It has nothing to do with the software. It gives you some formulas and some spreadsheets that you can use to kind of manage maybe some different ways to think about payroll. That would be one example of something that's a free giveaway on maidcentral.com. Scroll down right below the header, download the pay for performance guide. That will probably eliminate maybe 100 hours a year of wasteful payroll activities that you're doing if you can implement something like that in your business. I cannot tell you enough how much just simplifying my payroll process has made my company, a smoother operation and takes time off my manager's back office time.
Whatever software you use to run your business, be it your production management stuff, your your accounting, your applicant tracking. Try really hard to use it the way that it was designed. I see people all the time saying, well, that really doesn't work in my business, so I have to do all this stuff on the side to make it work. Stop that. Use the software the way it's designed to be used. You can get things done in a fraction of the time. You can click a button and make all this administrative minutia go away and invest that time in building relationships with clients, prospective clients in your workforce.
Yeah, and then you talked about credit card processing. I see people trying to save a little bit of money by doing, really, only taking checks and cash. But then think of at the end of the day, you've got to have somebody in your office go through and reconcile that payment against each invoice. Is the 3% of the credit card processing really costing you anything if it's costing your back office time 2 or 3 hours extra a day? Did you really save anything? I see stuff like that where people are trying to save money, and really they're increasing the workload of their office to manage those things. Those are all examples. And then that 3 hours a day could be doing follow-up on leads.
Or working your schedule to fit an extra job in, or, the list goes on. There's a ton of things that create more value.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all those things. If your software can do it, and most of the Maid service production softwares can do things like either pay hourly or pay some sort of commission or job ticket hour. I don't know if they all do, but I think most of them do. And if they do, stop doing all these complex things and get your payroll done with a click of a mouse, and move on, so that activity that took 10 hours a week or 5 hours a week, whatever it is, arguably if it's 2 hours a week, it's too long. If you can get it done in 10 minutes, get it off their plate, and then all that time can be recaptured to like these activities Tom is describing. That's the focus of automation and campaigns and doing all this stuff that your software was built to do. It can't. Most of them can do some level of this stuff, and you should take advantage of those features and reduce your back office workload. I can't even imagine some of the things that I used to do. I can't even imagine doing them today, because I'm like, I just love simplicity so much, and we have complex payroll, we pay commission, but I love the simplicity of hitting a button and it's done. And I couldn't imagine going back and trying to track all these different things that we used to track. The mousetrap was just too busy,
So we are approaching the top of the hour. What are we going to be doing Wednesday?
We have an amazing guest, Dan Hirth of One Click SEO is going to be joining us. We're going to really dive into some strategies you can take for your business right now to improve your Google My Business, your Google Map Pack listing. Whether you outsource that and you need to make sure your company that's doing it for you is doing a great job, or you do it yourself, some strategies and techniques to do that, because that is where basically most of search is happening now. Is 6 out of 10 search results happen from the map pack. So you need to get yourself up the rankings one way or another, and that's going to be what we're going to really focus on with Dan.
Yeah, they specialize in SEO for local home service providers. So we're in a sweet spot.
Yeah, I mean, I pay to use them. They deliver results to me, and I'm a pretty good practitioner, so they can do a better job than I can, and in less time than I can. I have to utilize my time in other ways, and so you just have to. Yeah, sometimes it's you can learn something and do it yourself, and I did all that kind of stuff for years, but even I outsource most of that stuff at this point.
And you're using your time more wisely. You can use your time on higher order. I mean, you're buying time basically.
Yeah.
We had Dan do a presentation for us in Vegas. He was one of our sponsors. And the things that company does for SEO, everybody was just blown away. They do so much more than the typical SEO company. I think everybody's going to love that presentation. How long is it going to be on for? Is it going to be on the whole hour, 45 minutes?
Yeah, we have them for the whole show. So SEO SEO One Click, for the person that walked away a little bit, Dan Hirth of SEO One Click, and yeah, I would like, what I really love is the process. So like they involve you in the process, and you really can see what they're doing because they have a checklist, and you're you know, maybe not everyone's going to love that, but I'm used to using Basecamp, and I like the project aspect of it, and I can see what they're working on next, what links they've got for me. It's very transparent. It's very different than most SEO processes.
Yeah, as opposed to the experience where just trust us and yeah, you haven't you're not waiting long enough. Be patient.
Yeah, yeah. Who is the Facebook user that doesn't have a name? Facebook user. Who is that normally? It's one of your folks, because they knew who Dan was once we
they're in the group.
They're in your group, Samantha.
Yeah. Sam, hey Sam.
So Sam, I use them as well, Sam. So I don't get anything personally off of you know, you're using them or not using them, but I find them to be valuable, and even if you don't hire them, listen to them. They know what they're talking about.
They're gonna share information in terms of, you know, how you can get more value off of people who are using their phones primarily or a desktop, looking for a cleaning service.
Yeah, Dan has the philosophy is he'll tell you exactly what he does, because he knows that 90% of people will not bother to do what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and the truth is they don't have the time, the energy, or the resources to do it. So he'll tell you exactly what he's going to do and how he does it. And
we're too busy doing that crazy payroll process.
Exactly.
I think if you don't use Dan, you're the people that need to be on there on Wednesday, because you really need to see what your SEO company is doing. And if they're not doing all of the stuff, at least you'll know the stuff to ask about. Because most of the people I know that have an SEO company that doesn't operate like Dan does at SEO One Click, they have no clue what their SEO company does. They don't know what to ask. They don't know what to look for. They don't know how to see what they're doing. They're running blind. So coming on Wednesday, and you're going to know what to at least ask your company.
Awesome.
Okay, well, we are at the top of the hour, so Wednesday we'll be wrapping up Sales and Marketing Month, and Dan is a great way to do it. We're going to be talking local SEO. So you guys take care. We'll see you Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Bye, y'all.